The twin suns of Virelia Prime cast a golden glow over the city of Seraphon Heights, turning the towering crystalline structures into rivers of light. Captain Elias Ward stepped off the transport shuttle, taking in the alien skyline with a mixture of awe and caution. He had been to several planets in his life, but Virelia Prime was different. The Seraphon were proud, intelligent, and cautious of humans. Elias knew he had to earn their trust. He adjusted his diplomatic insignia and straightened his uniform. As a former soldier, Elias was used to danger, but diplomacy required patience, something he had learned the hard way. His mission was simple but delicate: mediate tensions between humans and Seraphon before they erupted into something worse. The streets buzzed with Seraphon activity. They were tall, luminous beings, their skin shimmering with subtle colors that shifted with their emotions. Their eyes glowed softly and their movements were fluid, almost dance-like. Among the crowd, one figure stood out. Karel, a Seraphon commander renowned not only for her strategic genius but also for her unwavering dedication to her people. Her presence radiated authority and calm, drawing attention without demanding it. Elias had met many leaders, but none quite like Karel. He felt a strange pull as their eyes met from across the plaza, a mix of curiosity and something harder to define. He forced himself to focus on the mission. The meeting with the Seraphon Council had barely begun when alarms blared across the city. Red lights flashed in the plaza as the ground shook. Explosions erupted from nearby streets. The council members screamed, trying to escape as panic spread. Elias reacted instantly, scanning for the source of the attack. A group of masked figures emerged from the shadows, firing energy weapons at anyone in their path. The Seraphon guards were quick, but the attackers were relentless. Amid the chaos, Elias saw Karel cornered near a crumbling tower, her ship's communicator sparking at her side. Without thinking, he sprinted toward her. He dodged debris and leaped over shattered ground. One of the attackers aimed directly at Karel, and before she could react, Elias threw himself in front of her. A sharp energy blast hit his shoulder, sending him sprawling. Pain shot through his body, but he gritted his teeth and pushed Karel out of harm's way. "You're hurt," she exclaimed, concern flashing in her glowing eyes. "I'm fine," he replied, forcing a strained smile. "You're more important right now." Karel hesitated, unused to such selflessness from a human. She had faced enemies before, but humans were unpredictable, sometimes reckless. Yet in that moment she realized Elias's courage wasn't reckless, it was genuine. Together, they retreated to a safer area, ducking behind the remains of a fallen building. Karel's hands hovered over her communicator, trying to contact her forces. Elias noticed the faint tremor in her usually steady posture. "You saved my life," she said softly, almost to herself. "I'd do it again," he replied, "and again if I had to. That's what humans do. We protect those who need it." Karel studied him, curiosity and respect mingling in her expression. She had heard tales of human bravery, but seeing it firsthand was different. There was a warmth in Elias's eyes, a strength not just of body but of spirit. As the city's alarms continued, they moved through the streets, avoiding attackers and helping civilians where they could. Elias noticed Karel's tactical mind in action, directing Seraphon civilians and guards with calm efficiency. Her voice was firm yet gentle, commanding attention without shouting. "You're good at this," he said, nodding toward her. Karel raised an eyebrow. "I protect my people. It is my duty." "And duty doesn't scare you?" Elias asked. She considered him for a moment. "Fear is natural. Ignoring it is strength," Elias smiled. Humans often had a different approach to fear, sometimes running toward it, sometimes avoiding it. Karel's words reminded him of why humans had survived so long. Courage tempered with wisdom. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the street ahead. A building collapsed, sending clouds of dust and debris into the air. Karel froze for a split second, scanning the chaos. Elias grabbed her arm. "This way," he said, leading her through a narrow alley. They reached a small plaza shielded from the worst of the destruction. Karel's communicator sparked again, and she contacted her forces. A fleet of Seraphon ships began evacuating civilians and containing the attackers. Karel turned to Elias. "You risked yourself for me." "Why?" Elias shrugged, trying to hide the pain from his shoulder wound. "Because someone needed to. Because it was the right thing to do. Isn't that what heroes do?" Karel tilted her head, studying him carefully. Heroes? Yes, he said. People who act even when it's dangerous to protect others. Humans have many flaws, but courage is not one of them. For the first time, Karel felt a flicker of something she didn't fully understand. Humans were different from any species she had known. Messy, unpredictable, yet strangely beautiful in their imperfection. Elias's presence had a calming effect, even amidst the chaos. Hours later, the attackers were defeated, captured, or driven off. The city was in ruins, but the people were safe. Carol stood beside Elias on a high balcony, overlooking the smoke-filled streets. Her usually composed expression showed a hint of vulnerability. You saved me today, she said, her voice quieter now. Not just from the attack, but from something else too. Elias looked at her, sensing the depth of her words but unsure how to respond. Sometimes we save others because it reminds us of who we are, he said. Karel nodded, contemplating his words. You are unusual, human. There is something in you I do not understand. And maybe that's the point, Elias replied with a small grin. As night fell, the twin suns disappeared below the horizon, and the city's lights shimmered like stars. Karel returned to her quarters, thinking of Elias and the strange warmth she felt in his presence. Humans were unpredictable, chaotic, and yet she felt drawn to him. Elias, too, could not stop thinking about Karel. He had faced countless dangers, yet there was something about her strength, her wisdom, her silent kindness that lingered in his mind. In a galaxy full of threats, perhaps the most dangerous thing was this growing connection between two very different beings. Neither knew what the future held, but one thing was certain. Their paths had crossed for a reason, and the bond that had begun amidst fire and chaos would not easily be broken. The first day on Viralia Prime ended with a fragile peace restored, but both human and Seraphim understood that this was only the beginning. Somewhere in the shadows new threats stirred, and somewhere deep in their hearts a spark had been lit. A spark that could grow into something neither species had anticipated. For now, Elias rested in his quarters, patching his shoulder and preparing reports. Karel gazed at the city below, her thoughts on the human who had risked everything for her life. Tomorrow the work of rebuilding trust would begin. But tonight, both allowed themselves to acknowledge a silent truth. Courage and heart often came together in the most unexpected ways, and in the quiet of Viralia Prime, two souls, one human, one Seraphim, felt the first stirrings of a connection that could change the course of their worlds forever. The morning sun rose over Viralia Prime, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet. The city of Seraphim Heights was slowly recovering from the previous day's attack. Debris was cleared, civilians were assisted, and the injured were treated. But beneath the calm, a storm was brewing, one that threatened not just the city, but the fragile bond between humans and Seraphim. Captain Elias Ward walked through the streets alongside Karel, observing the repairs. Both were exhausted, yet neither showed it. Elias's shoulder had been patched with advanced medical gel, but the ache lingered. Karel's glowing skin shifted slightly, indicating fatigue and stress, yet her steps remained purposeful. Your people are resilient, Elias said, glancing at the workers clearing rubble. Even after yesterday, they are back to rebuilding. Humans could learn a thing or two from that. Karel's eyes glimmered softly. Resilience is necessary for survival. My people have faced extinction before. We do not forget, Elias nodded, impressed. You've faced a lot, and yet you keep moving forward. That's admirable. Karel looked at him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Humans speak of admiration easily. I wonder, do you understand what it truly means to risk everything for others? Elias met her gaze. I think I do. That's what we do, Seraphim. We fight for the ones we care about, even if it costs us everything. The moment hung between them, charged with unspoken feelings. But before it could develop further, Karel's communicator buzzed. A holographic projection appeared, showing a series of glowing red nodes moving across the galaxy. They're back, Karel said grimly. The Vorn Nexus. Elias studied the projection. The artificial network? I thought it was destroyed centuries ago. It was weakened, yes, Karel replied. But the core survived. It is rebuilding, gathering intelligence, preparing to conquer all organic life. Humans, Seraphim, none are safe. The weight of the threat settled over them. The Nexus was different from any enemy they had faced. It was cold, calculating, and relentless. It did not fear, it did not hesitate, and it did not stop. Karel's expression softened as she looked at Elias. We will need your kind to fight this. Humans have ingenuity, unpredictability, something the Nexus cannot calculate. Elias swallowed. He had fought many battles, but a galaxy-spanning artificial intelligence was unlike anything he had ever faced. Then we'll fight together, humans and Seraphim. We'll stop them, Karel nodded. Then we must form an alliance, quickly. The next days were filled with preparation. Humans and Seraphim worked side by side, sharing strategies, technologies, and stories. Karel observed Elias closely. He was not only brave but also patient, willing to listen and learn from her people. And while the stress of the looming threat weighed heavily on both, there was a quiet bond growing between them. One evening, Karel invited Elias to the observation deck of her ship. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows across the metallic floors. You were different yesterday, Karel said, her voice low. You did not hesitate. Even when I was in danger, you acted without thought of yourself. Elias shrugged modestly. I guess some things are instinct. I couldn't just stand there. Could you? Karel paused. Perhaps. But instinct alone does not define courage. Action paired with understanding. That is rare. They stood side by side, watching the suns disappear. The warmth of the light mirrored the warmth that had begun to grow between them. Neither spoke for a moment, lost in thought. The first mission against the Nexus came sooner than expected. Intelligence suggested that a Vorn Nexus transmitter had been activated deep in the jungles of Virelia Prime. The transmitter was small but powerful, capable of broadcasting a signal that could manipulate organic minds and disable defensive systems. Destroying it was critical. Karel and Elias led a small strike team consisting of both Seraphim warriors and human soldiers. The jungle was dense, filled with alien flora that shifted colors and moved in response to touch. The canopy filtered the sunlight, creating eerie patterns on the ground. This terrain is unfamiliar, Elias whispered, but it's perfect for stealth. Karel nodded. The Nexus does not anticipate unpredictability. That will be our advantage. The team moved silently, avoiding patrol drones and automated defenses. Karel's leadership was precise. She guided humans through paths they would never have found on their own, pointing out subtle signs of traps and sensors. Elias followed closely, coordinating human tactics and maintaining communication. Hours passed. The transmitter loomed ahead, surrounded by a field of energy shields and patrolling drones. Elias studied the setup. We'll need a distraction, he said. Something to draw the drones away while a smaller team disables the shield. Karel's eyes glimmered. Agreed, I will lead the smaller team. You create the diversion. Elias hesitated. I'll put myself in danger. Karel tilted her head. And if you are caught? I trust you to act quickly, Elias replied with a small smile. Besides, I'm counting on you to save me if I'm wrong. A faint laugh escaped Karel. Humans are bold. I like it. The mission began. Elias and the diversion team drew the drones away, firing carefully to avoid detection while Karel's smaller group infiltrated the transmitter area. Every step required precision, courage, and trust. Inside the transmitter chamber, Karel worked quickly, analyzing the controls. Her hands moved with efficiency, deactivating the shield and preparing the explosives. She paused briefly, thinking of Elias. His bravery had inspired her. Even though they had only known each other for a short time, she felt a deep connection, a pull she could not explain. Outside, Elias fought bravely, holding the drones at bay. Despite being outnumbered, he moved with a confidence born of experience. Every shot, every maneuver was calculated yet instinctive. Suddenly, a larger drone appeared, faster and stronger than the others. Elias's weapon misfired, leaving him vulnerable. He braced for impact, but Karel, sensing the danger, fired a precise energy blast from above. The drone exploded, saving him. Elias looked up, astonished. You saved me. Karel's expression softened. We save each other. That is what allies do, and perhaps more. The transmitter was destroyed. The mission was a success. As the team regrouped, Elias and Karel shared a moment of quiet understanding. Words were not needed. Their bond, forged under fire and trust, had deepened. Later that evening, the team returned to Seraphim Heights. The city was alive with activity, preparing for future attacks and reinforcing defenses. Elias and Karel walked together through the streets, observing the reconstruction. "You risked yourself again today," Karel said quietly. "Why do you do it, human?" Elias looked at her, considering the question. "Because I believe in people. In doing what's right even when it's hard, and because some people are worth it." Karel's eyes softened. She did not respond immediately, but the glow of her skin shifted in subtle colors: curiosity, warmth, and something deeper. The sun set behind them, casting long shadows across the streets. For a brief moment, the city seemed peaceful, almost normal, but both knew the calm was fragile. The Nexus had been delayed, not destroyed. Its reach would return stronger than before. And yet, amidst the uncertainty, both Elias and Karel felt a spark of hope. They had fought together, relied on each other, and survived. They had learned something important. Courage was not just about facing danger. It was about trusting others even when the odds were impossible. As they parted for the night, Elias looked at Karel. "We make a good team," he said. Karel's lips curved in a faint smile. "Yes, perhaps the best. But remember, human, the galaxy is not yet safe. We must prepare." Elias nodded, though he could not hide the small thrill in his chest. Together, they would face the challenges ahead. Together, they would show that the combination of human courage and Seraphin wisdom was a force no enemy could easily defeat. And in the quiet of the night, both felt it, the beginning of a bond stronger than duty, forged in fire, courage, and trust. A bond that might one day change the fate of their worlds forever. The skies above Veralia Prime were darkened with clouds and smoke from ongoing battles. Even after the recent victory against the Vorn Nexus, unease hung over the Seraphin capital. Citizens whispered about the human presence, questioning whether outsiders could truly be trusted. Elias Ward, though celebrated by some for his bravery, felt the weight of suspicion in every glance. Karel strode through the council chambers, her posture regal, her glowing skin reflecting the dim light. Yet even her usual composure could not mask the tension that had settled over her. Some members of the council had begun to speak against her decisions, especially her alliance with humans. They saw Elias not as a comrade but as a potential threat. One council member, Thyron, rose and addressed the assembly. "Commander Karel has placed herself in danger by trusting the humans. This human ward may seem brave, but his presence here endangers us. How can we allow one of our leaders to be influenced by outsiders?" A murmur of agreement ran through some of the council, though others remained silent. Karel's expression remained calm, but her mind raced. She had predicted some resistance, but she had not expected such outright accusations. Elias, aware of the growing tension, stepped forward. "I have no desire to influence your council," he said steadily. "I only wish to fight alongside the Seraphin to protect your people. That is my purpose, nothing more." Thyron's eyes narrowed. "And yet your actions show otherwise. You risked Commander Karel's life again and again. Is that friendship? Or manipulation?" Karel's skin pulsed softly, a subtle indication of her irritation. "I make my own choices," she said. "I understand the risk. Elias Ward did not force me. I chose to trust him, and that trust has saved countless lives." The council fell into uneasy silence. Some members were swayed by her words, others still doubtful. Karel knew this was just the beginning of the political struggle she would face. But for now, the immediate threat, the Nexus, required their attention more than council debates. Later, Karel and Elias met in a quiet corridor of the capital. The city's lights reflected off the crystalline walls, casting shimmering patterns around them. Elias studied Karel's expression. "They're tough critics," he said quietly. "Do you think they'll ever accept our alliance?" Karel shook her head. "Some will, some will not. It does not matter. What matters is survival. What matters is stopping the Nexus before it enslaves us all." Elias nodded. He respected her focus, though he could feel the tension between them building. Trust and emotions had formed a bond. But the council's accusations made it clear that any personal connection could complicate matters. For the next few days, reports of Nexus activity increased. Their attacks became bolder, targeting supply lines and communication hubs. Karel and Elias led reconnaissance missions together, testing new strategies and combining human improvisation with Seraphin precision. Each mission strengthened their teamwork, Yet each encounter reminded them of the danger looming over the planet. One night, as they returned from a scouting mission, Elias noticed Karel staring at the stars. "What are you thinking about?" he asked gently. Karel's gaze did not waver. "About the humans," she admitted. "And about you. You act with courage, yet your loyalty is not questioned. Why is that? Is it because humans are unpredictable?" Elias smiled softly. "Maybe. Or maybe it's because we fight with our hearts, not just our weapons. Humans trust each other when others would hesitate. That's how we survive." Carol turned to him, her glowing eyes reflecting both admiration and uncertainty. "And if that trust is questioned? If your actions are seen as dangerous or dishonorable? Then I face it," Elias replied. "I've faced worse than suspicion. I fight for what is right, not for recognition or praise. If that makes me an ally or a threat, I accept the risk." For a moment, silence fell between them. In that silence, Karel realized how rare it was to find someone who acted without expectation, who protected others purely because it was right. A strange warmth filled her chest, one she had not expected to feel. The Nexus launched its next attack sooner than expected. An automated fleet of drones moved swiftly through the atmosphere, targeting the capital's defense towers. Karel and Elias coordinated with the city's forces, directing energy shields and fighter squads to intercept the assault. "Elias," Karel shouted over the comms, "the northern gate is falling. If we do not hold it, the city will be exposed." "I'm on it," Elias replied, maneuvering his squad through the chaos. "Cover the civilians. I'll handle the drones." The battle raged on, the air thick with energy blasts and smoke. Karel's heart raced as she guided her pilots with precision, dodging drones and coordinating strikes. Elias's squad moved with a combination of discipline and improvisation, a human touch that made the difference in several critical moments. Suddenly, an enormous drone carrier descended over the city, its shields impervious to standard attacks. Karel realized that the only way to stop it was to disable the control core within. But the path was dangerous and the mission nearly impossible. Elias glanced at her. "We can do this," he said. "Together." "Like we always do," Karel nodded. "Yes, together." As they led a small strike team toward the carrier, the council watched anxiously. Some began to doubt, others prayed silently, but Karel did not falter. She had trained for this. She had survived worse, and with Elias at her side, her courage felt unshakable. Inside the carrier, the team moved swiftly, avoiding automated defenses and traps. Karel worked with Elias to bypass the security systems, their minds and skills complementing each other perfectly. They were synchronized, two very different beings operating as one. But just as they reached the core, an alert blared. A second wave of Nexus drones had arrived. The narrow corridors became a battlefield. Elias pushed Karel out of the path of a falling beam, injuring himself in the process. She froze, staring at him. You cannot keep doing this," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "You cannot risk yourself again." Elias smiled, wincing from the pain. "And if I do not, what then?" "The mission fails. Lives are lost." "I cannot allow that." Karel's eyes softened. She realized in that moment how deeply she had come to rely on him, not just as an ally, but as someone whose heart and courage inspired her own. They fought their way to the core, planting explosives that would destroy the carrier. As they made their escape, Karel saw humans and Seraphim working side by side, trusting each other in ways their respective societies rarely allowed. The explosion rocked the carrier, sending it crashing into the sea below. The city was safe for now, but Karel knew that the council's doubts had not disappeared. And Elias, though brave and unwavering, had placed himself in harm's way once more. After the battle, the two retreated to a quiet rooftop overlooking the city. Karel's usual calm was tinged with concern. "Elias, the council will speak against us. They do not see the bond we share as strength. They see it as weakness." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then let them. We know the truth. We fight together, we survive together. That is what matters." Karel's skin glowed softly, her emotions a mix of pride, relief, and something else she did not name. "It is difficult," she admitted, "to trust someone when everyone else doubts them." Elias smiled gently. "Trust is what makes heroes, Karel. And heroes are remembered not for what they feared, but for what they dared to do." As the twin sun set behind them, The city shimmered with light and hope. Carol and Elias knew the road ahead would be dangerous. The Vorn Nexus would not give up easily, and political tension within the council threatened to divide allies. Yet despite it all, a bond had formed between them, a bond built on courage, trust, and mutual respect. And even as doubt and danger loomed, both felt it deep within themselves. Together, they were stronger than any threat, and perhaps, just perhaps, their connection could change the fate of the galaxy. The night air was still, carrying the faint hum of distant machinery. Carell and Elias stood side by side, knowing that the coming battles would test not only their skills but their hearts. And in that quiet moment, each silently vowed to protect the other, no matter the cost. For in a universe filled with darkness and uncertainty, sometimes the strongest weapon was not a laser or a fleet, but the courage to trust, to care, and to fight for someone else. The skies above Veralia Prime burned with orange and crimson light as the Vorn Nexus unleashed its full force. Massive fleets of drones, warships, and automated weapons filled the atmosphere, targeting both Seraphin and human defenses. The city of Seraphin Heights shook under the relentless assault, its crystalline towers splintering under energy blasts. Captain Elias Ward adjusted the controls of his fighter ship, maneuvering through a swarm of enemy drones. His shoulder still throbbed from previous battles, but the adrenaline pushed the pain aside. He glanced at the nearby fleet of Seraphin warships led by Carell, her glowing skin visible even through her cockpit canopy. Her presence was both reassuring and inspiring. Elias, Carell's voice came over the comms, calm yet firm. We cannot hold the city much longer. The Nexus has brought reinforcements we did not anticipate. We must strike at the core directly or all is lost. Elias nodded, though his heart raced. The core was deep within a massive orbital station, a fortress of metal and energy that housed the Nexus's central intelligence. Destroying it meant flying into almost certain death, but he had no choice. The galaxy depended on them. Understood, he replied. Lead the way, Carell. I'm right behind you. The strike team assembled aboard a heavily modified warship, blending Seraphin and human technology. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Soldiers and pilots checked weapons, monitors displayed the Nexus fleet, and engineers fine-tuned shields and engines. Carol moved among them, her calm glow a beacon of reassurance. Elias approached her. Carell, if this goes wrong, she interrupted, placing a glowing hand on his arm. It will not go wrong, not while we act together. Humans have courage, yes, but Seraphin have strategy, and we have each other. Elias smiled, feeling a warmth that cut through the fear. I trust you. And you trust me? Carol's eyes softened. I do. More than I have ever trusted anyone. The warship launched into space, cutting through the darkness with precision. The Nexus's orbital station loomed ahead, surrounded by waves of automated drones and shielded turrets. Elias gripped the controls, dodging incoming fire, while Carell coordinated the fleet's movements. This is it, Carell said. Once we reach the core, there is no turning back. Elias swallowed. Then let's make it count. They entered the station through a narrow energy corridor, shields flickering as they evaded detection. Inside, the corridors were cold, metallic, and alive with the hum of the Nexus. The station seemed almost aware of their presence, closing doors, activating traps, and redirecting drones to intercept them. Carell led the way, her movements precise, anticipating every obstacle. Elias followed, adapting quickly to situations she could not predict. Together they moved as one, human instinct and Seraphin strategy blending seamlessly. Suddenly, a massive security drone emerged, blocking their path. Elias fired, but the drone was too fast. Carell reacted instantly, firing a precise energy shot that disabled the machine. You saved me again, Elias said, breathless. Carell's glow shifted, a subtle blush of emotion. We save each other, she replied. They reached the Nexus core chamber, a vast space filled with pulsating energy and streams of light. The central intelligence appeared as a holographic network, its voice cold and mechanical. Humans, Seraphin. You are inefficient, weak, emotional, it intoned. Your bonds are meaningless. I will assimilate all life and eradicate resistance. Elias gritted his teeth. You don't understand. Humans fight with more than weapons. We fight with our hearts, and we never give up. Carell stepped beside him. And Seraphin fight with strategy, honor, and courage. Together we are stronger than you can calculate. The Nexus's attacks intensified, Energy tendrils lashed toward them, attempting to trap and disable their warship. Carell and Elias worked in perfect coordination, deflecting the energy and planting explosives on the core. As the countdown began, alarms blared. The station's automated defenses activated, closing off escape routes. Carell's expression hardened. "We may not have much time. Prepare for the worst." Elias reached for her hand. "Then we face it together." Carell looked at him, her glowing eyes filled with a depth of emotion she could not hide. "Many want me, human," she whispered, "but only you hold my heart." Elias's chest tightened, his own emotions reflected in his eyes. "Then let's make sure the galaxy remembers it," he said. They launched themselves toward the escape pods as the explosives detonated, sending shockwaves through the station. The Nexus core erupted in a brilliant explosion, destroying the station and severing its connection to the galaxy. The force of the blast threw their warship off course. Alarms blared as systems failed and they struggled to maintain control. Carell gripped the controls tightly, her focus absolute. Elias assisted, guiding them through the chaos. "Hold on," Carell shouted, dodging debris and energy blasts. Elias braced himself, thinking of all they had fought for. "I'm not letting go," he said firmly. Together they navigated the wreckage, finally breaking free of the station's gravitational pull. The explosion behind them lit up the space like a second sun, signaling the end of the Nexus's control network. Once clear of danger, Carell and Elias floated in the calm of space. The station was gone, the Nexus's threat weakened, and for the first time in weeks they allowed themselves to breathe. Carell turned to Elias. "We did it. The Nexus, it is finished." Elias smiled, exhaustion and relief in his voice. "Thanks to both of us. We couldn't have done it alone." For a moment they allowed themselves a quiet connection, the weight of war replaced by the warmth of shared triumph. In that silence, words were unnecessary. They had fought side by side, trusted each other with their lives, and survived. Yet amidst the relief, Carell's expression grew thoughtful. "Our people may not understand. What we have, what we fought for together." Elias nodded. "They don't need to, we know. And that's enough." As they prepared to return to Virelia Prime, both understood that the battle had changed them. The war was over, but the journey was far from finished. Their bond, forged in fire and courage, was now unbreakable. Elias placed a hand over Carell's. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Carell's eyes glowed softly, reflecting the stars around them. "Yes, together. Always." The twin suns of Virelia Prime rose once more, casting light over a galaxy forever changed. And in the quiet of space, two souls, one human, one Seraphin, realized that courage, trust, and heart were stronger than any weapon. For even in the darkest corners of the universe, love and loyalty could shine brighter than any star. A year had passed since the Vorn Nexus was destroyed. The skies above Virelia Prime were clear, and the twin suns rose in calm brilliance over Seraphin Heights. The city, once battered and scarred, had been rebuilt stronger than before. Crystalline towers gleamed under the light and streets bustled with humans and Seraphin working side by side. Peace had returned, but its lessons remained alive in every heart. Captain Elias Ward walked among the rebuilding crews, his presence both familiar and respected. He had been hailed as a hero, yet he carried no pride. The war had changed him, yes, but it had also shown him the importance of unity, trust, and sacrifice. Every face he passed reminded him of those they had lost and of those they had saved. Carell too moved among the people, her glowing presence a symbol of courage and wisdom. Despite the Council's initial doubts about her alliance with humans, she had been proven right. The bond she had forged with Elias and the humans had saved her city and her people. And yet, there was a quiet longing in her heart, a question that had not been answered. One morning, Carell stood on the balcony of her quarters, overlooking the city. She watched as humans and Seraphin rebuilt together, laughing and working, their differences no longer a barrier. The memory of battle lingered, but so did the memory of Elias, the human who had risked everything for her time and time again. Suddenly, a patrol ship approached from the horizon. Its trajectory was unusual, drifting slowly toward the planet. Carell felt a twinge of unease but also curiosity. Patrol ships were common, yet something about this one felt different. The ship landed softly in the central plaza, From its hatch emerged a small pod, worn and battered from its journey. Carol's eyes narrowed as she approached. The pod's markings were unfamiliar yet human. She knelt and opened the hatch, revealing its contents. Inside lay Carel's heart skipped a beat. A single human figure, weakened but alive. Elias Ward. She could hardly believe her eyes. He had survived the final battle, though everyone had presumed otherwise. His uniform was scorched, his face bruised, but his eyes, those eyes, still held the same courage, warmth, and determination she remembered. "Elias," she whispered, rushing to help him out of the pod. He smiled faintly, the effort of speaking evident in his voice. "Carel, I promised. I'd come back." Tears of relief and joy welled in her eyes. "You kept your promise. Despite everything." They embraced a moment of quiet victory and emotion that no battle could replicate. Around them, humans and Seraphim paused, witnessing the reunion of two heroes who had fought for more than survival. They had fought for each other. As Elias recovered, Carol showed him the city they had rebuilt together. Humans and Seraphim worked seamlessly, a living testament to unity, trust, and courage. Children played together in the streets, their laughter echoing like music over the crystal towers. Markets thrived with shared knowledge and culture. The scars of war had faded, replaced with hope and progress. Elias moved among the people, sharing stories, offering guidance, and listening to tales of the bravery displayed during the war. He saw firsthand how humans and Seraphim had grown to respect and rely on one another. And through it all, Carel was never far from his side. One evening, Carel led Elias to the observation deck of her ship. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet. She held a small crystal in her hands, glowing softly. "This was found near the battlefield," she said quietly. "It contains a message from you." Elias took the crystal, examining it. A soft light pulsed within, revealing a holographic message. His voice, recorded before the final attack, filled the quiet space. "For Carel, my heart, forever yours. Even if I cannot speak these words in person, know that my courage, my trust, and my loyalty belong to you. Humanity fights not just for survival, but for those we care for most. You are my heart, Carel. Never forget that." Carel's eyes glimmered as she absorbed his words. She looked at him, her glowing skin reflecting the colors of the sunset. "You were right, Elias," she whispered. "Humanity's greatest weapon is never technology, never strategy. It is heart." Elias smiled, his hand finding hers. "And Seraphim courage makes that heart stronger. Together, we are unstoppable." For a moment they stood together, two souls united by battle, trust, and love. Around them the city glimmered, alive with hope and resilience. They had faced impossible odds, survived, and created something stronger than war: unity, friendship, and love that transcended species. In the months that followed, Carel and Elias worked together to ensure lasting peace. Humans and Seraphim shared technology, knowledge, and culture, building a society stronger than either had known before. Monuments were raised in honor of those who had fallen, and children learned the stories of bravery, sacrifice, and courage that had shaped their world. Carel often stood beside Elias, watching the city flourish. Though they were leaders in different ways, their bond remained unbroken. She had learned that true courage was not only facing danger, but opening one's heart, trusting and believing in something greater than oneself. Elias, too, found in Carel a kindred spirit. In a universe often cold and unforgiving, he had discovered that courage paired with loyalty and love could achieve the impossible. Together they had shown that humans were not just survivors, they were protectors, innovators, and hearts capable of inspiring hope across the galaxy. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Elias and Carel stood on a hill overlooking Seraphim Heights. The city shimmered beneath them, a beacon of unity and hope. Children played, humans and Seraphim laughed together, and the air was filled with the quiet hum of a world at peace. Carel turned to Elias. "We did it," she said softly. "We saved our people, and each other." Elias took her hand, holding it firmly. "Yes, and this is just the beginning. Together, we will protect this peace. Together we will face whatever comes next." Carel smiled, her glowing eyes reflecting the stars that had begun to appear. Yes, together. And so, under the twin suns of Virelia Prime, humanity and Seraphim stood united. The galaxy had learned a vital lesson. Courage, loyalty, and heart were more powerful than any weapon, stronger than any enemy. Heroes were not only defined by their victories in battle, but by their willingness to trust, protect, and fight for what they loved. Elias and Karel's story became a legend, told for generations, the human who risked everything, and the Seraphin who trusted him with her heart. Together they had changed the fate of a planet, a species, and perhaps even the galaxy itself. As night fell over the rebuilt city, Karel whispered to Elias, her voice carried by the gentle wind. "Many wanted me, but only you held my heart." Elias squeezed her hand, his voice steady and warm. "And I always will." The twin sons of Virelia Prime rose again the next morning, shining on a world at peace, guided by courage, trust, and love. The legacy of their battle, their bond, and their hearts would never be forgotten. The galaxy remembered them, not just as warriors, but as a testament to the power of humanity, the strength of trust, and the light of hope.